Before we begin, spoiler alert for those who hasn't finished Black Swan Companion Quest, I really advise you to finish that quest before continuing with this video, since it will contain a little bit of spoiler. I'll give you 5 seconds for that. As we finish Black Swan Quest, we'd witness the conversation between Sampo and Sparkle. Sparkle says something catastrophic will happen in Jarilo-VI, and that's why Sampo needs his mask back. From where it stands previously, it doesn't seem like there's any other loose end in Belobog, maybe except the bridge at the Pillars of Creation. And my expectation is that, and if there's anything new happening in Jarilo-VI, it will be something like that Genshin loves doing, hosting all kinds of festivals and events with very low tensions or relevance to the main plot, and more a little bit of trivial world building. Additionally, since the whole conflict with IPC, I thought there shouldn't be anything else that could harm Jarilo-VI, since the IPC has promised collaboration to help with the rebuilding effort of Jarilo-VI. So because of that, the IPC presence should be relatively strong in that planet. So they should be helping the residents of Belobog when it comes to defense against hostile outside forces. But the way Sparkle says it and how Sampo reacted made it sound like whatever is going to happen in Jarilo-VI will be something very dire, to the point that Sampo had to leave the planet and go all the way to Penacony to get a key to the tavern from Sparkle and get his mask in the tavern, then go back to Jarilo-VI. So it feels kind of weird that Sampo is putting a lot of effort. It currently means that he might need to be very serious regarding whatever is going to happen in Jarilo-VI. As I've said, it feels like Jarilo-VI has tied up any loose ends, which is quite different from the Luofu. I've been thinking hard about it, so I think there are 3 things that I can think of that might end up becoming a threat to Jarilo-VI. Bear in mind, this is mostly theory craft, and there's no direct evidence until the end of the story of Penacony, so I would assume around version 2.4 perhaps. So let's hear my theory. The first one, it could be had something to do with the survivor of the Annihilation Gang. If Acheron did kill Ifrit and the Annihilation Gang did go their separate ways, some of them might end up in Jarilo-VI to recover after the fight with Acheron. Even though Ifrit is gone, I believe they're still at core as a servant of destruction, so they will still create havoc wherever they go. And I'm sure the Annihilation Gang will be quite a nuisance for the residents of Belobog, even for low-ranking IPC guards. If this theory is correct, it only shows that things that happen in Penacony or around Penacony do has a ripple effect on other places, which I think is a very good way to show that the universe of Honkai Star Rail is connected and there are consequences of whatever happened in other places. And if this actually true, something similar might happen in the Luofu. Honestly, I think this is a pretty interesting theory and quite likely, since we get a whole trailer introducing this villain group and one whole story chapter for the boss introduction. It seems kind of weird that they just kill off the main boss of the gang off screen. And if they're not going to show up in Penacony, I think Jarilo-VI makes sense. And my second theory would be Screwloom. I mean, he won't be the direct cause of whatever is going to happen in Jarilo-VI. But from the rumor saying that he's going to be playable sometimes at version 2, and he also shows his wish to visit Jarilo-VI and meet with Svarog. So this might play a role with the plot. Maybe something about making all robots have strong sentience that end up clashing with the human residents of Belobog. And if I want to relate with an antagonist that I can think of that end up being related to Screwloom might be the return of the Emperor Rupert, as by the end of the Gold and Gears Simulated Universe story, Screwloom was asking about Rupert 2, and we know that Rupert 1 was the cause of a major event before the story of Honkai Star Rail started that involves machine at wars with organic life form. And we also know that Jarilo-VI machine is a big part of its civilization. Maybe we can see some kind of machine uprising in Jarilo-VI, maybe even controlling the pillars of creation, or the pillars of creation getting it sentient. With the timing of Scroll release, I don't think this is a far-fetched theory. And my third theory would be something completely new, or the return of the Antimatter Legion to the planet. Since previously Antimatter Legion came to attack Belobog and they end up repelled by the Celeron, but with the cause of the eternal freeze inflicting the planet. Now that the planet is habitable again, there's a chance that they might come back and try to destroy the planet once more. And also with how the force of destruction is very active at the moment, with the recent attack on Lofu, this is also another one that has a relatively decent chance to happen. And that's all the 3 theories of what might end up happening in Jarilo-VI that I have. Do let me know what kind of theory do you guys have about what will happen in Jarilo-VI. But this discussion video is not end yet. I'm gonna talk a little bit about Sampo. But before we move to Sampo discussion, if you like what you have heard so far, do leave a like and subscribe to my channel. I really need your help to achieve my 1,000 sub by the end of the year goal. Only a few seconds of your time will make my life become so much better. Just think it simply act of kindness towards a stranger, if you will. But sorry for digressing. Now let's quickly talk about Sampo involvement. During Black Swan Quest, towards the end, Sparkle said something about taking the stage, but if you're too late, you can also work backstage. So far, Sampo has been working backstage. If you think about it, everything that he does back in the main story of Belobog really end up helping the group. And essentially, the conflict of Belobog might not end up solved peacefully had not for Sampo's involvement. So he really is working in the backstage to make sure that the performance working as intended in reaching the ending that is supposed to happen. If we want to think about Sampo's goals, we know that the Max Fool is in total pursuit of elation, but each of them has their own taste of what is considered as elation. From what we see in Penacony, Sparkle's pursuit of elation is to create chaos through deception, provocation, and confusion, at which ultimately will benefit her the most, with how she's willing to attack innocent bystander for the sake of making Black Swan going through of unnecessary puzzle and try to corner her so that she can employ Black Swan's power in order to achieve her goal, or how she ended up involving Trailblazer and Firefly in that mess meeting with Death. Why did she do that? But ultimately, her action did end up killing Firefly in the dream. So that's her pursuit of elation. As for Sampo, from what I observe, the elation that he seeks is creating chaos through deception, persuasion, and confusion, at which ultimately benefits other people as a whole. For instance, like how he saved us when our group is attacked by Bronya. He had no reason to help us, nor bringing Bronya to the underworld. His action created chaos and confusion to our group, the Silvermane guards, and even the underworld residents. And he managed to persuade everyone why he did what he did with his silver tongue. Or another time during the museum event, he's ultimately the mastermind behind the thieving case of the exhibits, which causes all kinds of chaos. But thanks to his act, Pella ended up asking us for help to track the thief, and we end up being the manager of the museum and making it more flourish than expected. So Sampo, even though what he did was questionable, but everything ended up being a good thing for everyone. Maybe you can consider it to be the best outcome of this bad situation. My assumption is that he feels elated when he sees everyone is confused, but at the same time, he also feels elated when whatever he did makes everyone happy at the end. Which is why I think he's really interested in the Nameless as a group. But we still don't know much about Sampo, since we don't even have his companion quest, so I could totally wrong about him. But now it raises a question. He's taking his mask back. Is he planning to take the spotlight pretending to be a villain, at which ultimately lit things to a better direction? Or is he intended to directly getting involved against whatever threat is going to arrive in Jarilo-VI as a third faction and not disappearing all the time? Whatever his role going to be, his involvement always makes the game to be more interesting. And I truly believe he will be one of the most interesting characters in the Honkai style, maybe except Sparkle and Adventuring, since both of them are very difficult to predict. Oh, and also speaking of Sampo's max, from what we have seen with Sparkle, it feels like the max full mask is like an extension of their body. She could speak in a long distance with her mask, and also able to conjure multiple of the masks. She even capable in shape-shifting, maybe even creating an illusion. So basically she will be able to draw some of the illusion power or Aha's power through her mask, it seems. And we have no idea what Sampo power is going to be, since his 4-star version doesn't involve any superpower and only relying on tools. Well, that's all of my theory regarding the next arc for Jarilo-VI. I'm not very good at theory crafting and make them consistent with the established facts, especially when it comes to lore or character analysis. So do forgive me if I ended up contradicting any established facts that are already made in-game or by other content creators, since I know many of them are much better than me at this. Anyway, do let me know about your theory about the next arc of Belobog, and also if you know more about Sampo or Sparkle. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more Honkai Star Rail related discussion, and also you're helping me a ton with only a single click of a button. Until the next video, stay sharp gamers.